But this, I did research on this column. In 2012, the Ravens won the Super Bowl. Remember that game where they beat the Broncos in overtime? Have we forgotten?
Barely.
They led the league in penalties. And not only that, they led the league in unnecessary roughness. They averaged one a game. In 2013, who won the Super Bowl? Who killed the Broncos in the Super Bowl? The Legion of Boom. They led the league in penalties. Last year, who won the Super Bowl? New England. They were number 3 in penalties. Football is not for Cub Scouts. It's a game for badass football players. And the badder you are, the farther you're going to go.
So are you absolving Talib of what he
I'm
did?
not absolving Talib of being stupid. But if he
so
wants,
you're not advocating then that go out and if you get a few of those calls a week, that's the price of doing business. It's okay.
No, okay. I thought, without a doubt, and I heard Kubiak say, "Well, that's how you teach tackling." T.J. Ward's hit on T.Y. Hilton. That was a dirty, cheap shot. That's what it was. And let's call it for what it was. But that was worth every yard.
I agree with you. That was a completely different scenario than the Aqib Talib play.
Okay, so
that was in the game of football.
Don't get the penalty after the whistle.
Yes. All I'm saying is you can have aggressive penalties. I'm with you on that.
Right.
But you cannot have selfish, stupid, personal penalties that could cost you a chance to win a championship.
Take you a little bit more in the past. What were the Oakland Raiders known for when they were having success? They were the most penalized team. Year after year. They were feared throughout the league. Not only were they wearing black uniforms, but they were mean and they were ugly, and that got them to Super Bowls. The problem with the Oakland Raiders is they continued that.
That's what I was going to say. They were also the most penalized team when they were lousy, too.
Yeah. Okay. So that, my point is, and you're ahead of me, is I don't know that there's a real correlation. But I agree with you. I agree with him, agreeing to you with a point.
Up to a point.
I think you establish it early that it's not bad for Von Miller to get an offsides and kind of nuzzle up to the quarterback. I don't think it's bad for DeMarcus Ware to maybe pop a guy a little bit, but then you get on with business. And that's what you were saying earlier, that in the fourth quarter, particularly in a tight game, you don't want 15-yard penalties piling up. You don't want defensive holding and giving people free first downs all the time.
If you're untalented and dirty, you're just a knucklehead. But if you're talented and dirty, that's going to increase the chances that you win the game. And I was inspired to do this column in part because of you. Because what did you tell me yesterday? What did you tell me to inspire me? The Broncos in the 90s, they had all these offensive fireworks, but what really gave them the edge was the cut blocking, the chop blocking, the dirty play of their offensive linemen. That's what they were talented. They had Shannon Sharp and John Elway and Ed McCaffrey and Rod Smith. They were talented, but they also had guys.
They had Alex Gibbs.
Yes, that would say, give them a little bit extra.
And yes, Alex Gibbs said that and taught that, even though the NFL said, we're not going to penalize it, but we don't want you teaching it.
But that's
like saying
the chop blocks did not hurt them and did not cause them to lose football games.
Chad Brown always has said this to me several times, that when he played against the Denver Broncos, that linebackers were always scared. You were always looking out the corner of your eye because you knew that backside offensive tackle and Mark Schler, for somebody like that, was going to come hit you below the knees, or the two guys would take you on. Now, a lot of that is illegal, but still, you can do some chop blocking, and they're not doing that. Offensively, they're not that feared kind of team because they can't get to the second level. You can't hurt a guy line to line, face to face, but when you get to the second level, that's when you take the linebackers out of the play.
Let me ask you
Not
guys,
only do you take them out of the play to begin
I
with,
heard
but then
Bill
they're
Moss
afraid
the
to.
other day, the former chief defensive player, say, listen, this Broncos, it's the same as last year. Their defense is small, and they will wear down as the season goes on. I'd never, ever considered that. Is there a point there?
He's 100% correct. For as good as the interior linebackers have played, if you want to beat the Broncos, you pound them, and you pound them some more to see if those light, quick guys, not only during the course of the season, but a course of the game, start to slow down a little bit.
Well, that means you got to keep the ball a lot, and you got to be very physical against them.
And last week, Brandon Marshall of the Broncos, Danny Trevathan, who I thought had his best game, even though he had the defensive holding call, they combined for about 30 tackles. Now, is that good or bad? We'll talk about that a bit later.